Right, so as Alex said, that video really shows how a process like this will inform our future projects. So those were projects that were not only bond projects, but just capital projects in general. So what we really wanted to focus on tonight was the engagement component that Alex spoke about. And really that relies on our online survey that we created. So you might be asking, why a survey? The survey helps us understand your priorities. It tells us what kind of projects you want to see and where you want to see them. Again, as Alex said, we're in the very early stages of developing that capital plan. So right now, we're not focusing on individual projects, but really focusing on project areas and values and priorities. Again, your input in the survey is going to be combined with real world data, things like equity, service gaps, and also the strategic goals from that strategic plan. So what are we going to be asking you? We're going to ask a few questions about yourself, where you live. That helps us not only get an understanding of where our results are coming from, but it helps us to align this data from the survey with other data resources that we have. This really helps us develop a holistic picture of what sort of values and priorities are out there in the community. And finally, the ultimate goal is to collect enough data to help your elected officials come up with that project list, evaluate different projects, and ultimately figure out how they want to fund those projects and when they want to fund them. So if there aren't any questions on the process, I'd like to dive into the survey. You can bring it up by following the link on the website. If you need a few seconds to get back to it, we can wait. But we want to jump in the survey. And as we're going through the survey, if you have questions here in person, just raise your hand and we can address them, or somebody will jump out in the audience to help you. If you're online and you have questions, please just post them in the chat and we'll have somebody helping you out in the chat. Yeah, if you're in the audience and you don't have a device with you, we do have paper copies of the survey.
Anybody else need any assistance with the survey on the phone? Do you want me to?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes. So I need a couple more.
This is up.
And for our online audience, we're just giving a few minutes to get the surveys out. So if you can bear with us, so we're ready, we'll pull up the questions here.
Where do you see the results of how people have voted?
Really? No, once it's submitted. Yeah.
Submitted all.
Thank you. So we've got a lot of paper surveys out there. It's going to look a little bit different in terms of formatting, but we'll try to walk you through it as best we can. Our goal was to create a survey experience that was the same for people who are joining us online as for the people who are here in person. As well as people who could attend either. This website is available 24/7 online. If you have friends, family, neighbors who couldn't attend, feel free to share the links with them, and they'll be able to take the survey as if they were here today. So if you're on the website and you've gotten to take the survey link, the first question is just the English or Spanish selector. So whatever your primary language is, select that. The survey experience is the same in English or Spanish. Same questions, same pictures, and so on. This is really just an introducer. So if you are ready to start the survey, click start the survey. So the first question, we're asking for your email address. This isn't a required question. If you don't want to share it, that's fine. If you do put your email address in here, as the process progresses, we'll be able to share further meeting invitations, further links and further content that we develop as we go on through the capital planning process. I'll give you all a few seconds to fill out the email question. Then the second question, we are asking in which city council district you reside. This one is a drop down. So you should see an arrow on the screen that you can click and then select your district, District 1 through 8. And this will help us as we're progressing with the process, looking at some of your results and being able to give as much information as possible to your elected officials about what their district's priorities are. We've also got a link there. If you're not sure what district you're in, you can click and a map will come up that'll help you select. If you're here in the room or on the chat, you can also just tell us whereabouts. Physically in District 4, if you drove up from anywhere south of Fred Wilson, you may be in District 2. If you came over Trans Mountain, you were in District 1.
What if we live over here in the northeast?
District 4.
Right now, more or less, it's like Paso Pass. To the north is District 4. And some parts of Science are
What's below Honda? What's below Honda?
District 2.
Okay, like Diana, Blessed Sacrament Parish, there's,
I believe it's District 2.
that's District 2. Oh, okay. Tetons, those areas, Glacier Peak, Alps, that's all District 2.
Okay, is everybody good on the district question?
Do you know if the District 2 rep is going to have a meeting with constituents?
I believe the District 2 rep will be, either her or her staff will be at our central meeting.
Good to know, okay.
I don't know if she's having her own meeting that will be joining. Tammy in the back with the
Let me walk over to the president and turn around. We have a meeting in Central on March 8th, I believe.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesday, it'll be held in downtown at City Hall. And then your district rep for number 2, she wants to host a meeting on March 17th. And we're looking at a venue because the venue that we wanted to host it at is going to be closed for some improvements. And so as soon as we select the site, we'll let everybody know. If you signed in, we can send you the information.
Okay, and does she have a Facebook page or some other way that she advertises it?
She does, she does. I don't have that off the top of my head.
But that's not, if she has, we can find it.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, cool, thank you. And what's her name again?
Her name is Alexandra Anello,
Oh, I see.
and you can find her on the city's website. You can find her phone number there. Excuse me?
I'm sorry, wait.
Alexandra,
Mhm.
it's like Alex and Sandra together. Anello, A-N-N-E.
No, I mean, who is she?
She's your city rep for District 2.
Oh, what about the city rep for District 4?
He's not available tonight because he had a previous commitment that he had made for
What's his
several
name?
months.
Joe Molina.
Joe Molina, and she works for him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she works for Joe Molina. That's District 4. Any other district? We're good? Okay, yeah.
So the next question, again, we're still trying to get some location data to help us understand the results. The next question is your 5-digit zip code. And this question will help us identify your location a little bit more specifically. So we're asking you to input the nearest major intersection to your house. So we've got a couple examples here: Mesa and Remcon, Edgemere and Lee Trevino. If you're up here in the Northeast, you would want to put something like Dyer and Ren, Dyer and Hondo Pass and Holmes. Really focus on major streets that are major. And again, we're just trying to get more information on where our results are coming from. So we're also asking if you rent or own your home or live with family. And on this question, again, I don't believe it's not a required question. Feel free to skip it or to just mark that you prefer not to say. So is everybody with us up to this point? So now we're getting into more of the subject matter questions. So our first question is really a general question. And we're trying to get an idea of what your values and what your priorities are. So we'd like you to rank the following project areas from highest to lowest. The highest, number 1, should reflect the project area that's most important to you. And the lowest should be the one that is least important to your daily life as a resident of El Paso. This is a ranking question. So if you're on your device or on your computer, you can drag and drop these options. If you're filling out the handwritten, you can just write number 1, 2, 3, or 4 on the left side of the options. And these 4 project areas are really project areas that were identified in that strategic planning process. So we have safe, high quality, complete streets, parks, recreation and quality of life facilities, solar energy and climate change, and economic development. Now, moving on, the questions get a little more specific into those 4 project areas, and we'll start with streets and transportation. So as the city makes investments in streets and transportation infrastructure, which types of investments are most important? Again, this is a ranking question, so you can drag and drop the choices. But we have investments that expand the availability of bicycle facilities and trails, investments that improve pavement quality, investments that prioritize safety, such as crosswalks and street lighting, investments that reduce congestion, traffic, and vehicle emissions, and finally, investments that address stormwater and flooding.
If anyone has any questions on the options that you'd like for us to elaborate, please raise your hand and we'll be happy to do so.
Continuing with the questions on streets and transportation. As the city makes investments in streets and transportation infrastructure, what locations do you feel are most important? This question is a little different. It's not a ranking question. We're asking you to identify each option as either less important, equally important, or more important. So we have residential lower traffic streets in residential areas, high traffic streets that take people from one area of El Paso to another, high traffic streets within commercial areas that you consider destinations for goods and services or entertainment. And finally, streets in areas where the city's investment in that area has historically been low. If we're going too fast, just feel free to raise your hand or yell at us. But we'll continue now, moving on to parks and recreation. Quality of life facilities. So first, we're trying to gather some more location data. So where do you feel the city should focus its investments in new or refurbished parks and recreation facilities? This is another ranking question. So areas where data indicates that there's a gap in services, areas where the city's investment in parks has historically been low, existing parks and recreation facilities in need of modernization, or areas where recent growth lacks nearby parks and rec facilities and quality of life facilities. So this next question is a visual preference question. So on these options, you can choose up to 2 options. And we're asking, as the city makes investments in new parks and rec facilities, which types of facilities do you feel are most appropriate? We have large regional parks and facilities like the Beast, smaller neighborhood parks within walking distance of neighborhoods, investments in new equipment and infrastructure for existing parks, facilities specific to certain sports or activities like football fields or indoor play courts, and finally, other quality of life facilities like museums and libraries. Yes, ma'am.
About the city sticking to finishing the project before they take on another one, like Cohen, they put in the water part and that's it. They're supposed to get a hotel there, shops, restaurants, Zippo. And a comment from Representative Molinar and the city manager, they ran out of money. Come on.
So
Where did
these
it go?
questions are really focused on looking forward to our future capital plan. We do have those comment cards, so if you have comments like that, we can take those back to the project managers or the folks that are more appropriate folks to answer those questions.
It's the same thing like here, Metro 31. We got the building, the parking lot is terrible to come here for a meeting tonight. And, you know, what happened to the rest of it? I know Hunt pulled out, but if someone comes in with millions of dollars and say, hey, I want to support this, I want to use my money, make them sign a contract and go through with what they opened their mouth and said they're going to support.
Yeah, we hear you. I think that's feedback that we can definitely take back. We really want to focus tonight on the survey and sort of the forward-looking projects and project areas. I'm not saying that to be dismissive of your comment in any way. I just want to be respectful of everyone's time and everyone online and make sure that we're sticking with the survey questions and the capital planning
So
process.
that's a good point you're making.
Yeah, it is.
We're gonna get that new projects and new ideas, and we will have place also like the same, we're in the same spot again.
Yeah,
We
and
can
then
just
the
think-
city
we can
starts
just think
looking
right now.
at it.
Okay, guys, look, so we want to just get through the survey, okay? There'll be opportunities for comments at the end, again, so there's questions, we'll leave it open. Okay.
To get back to your surveys, I just got it now, sort of overviewing these questions in the survey. These are double standard questions. I mean, they're over general.
And that's the intent.
Excuse me, so.
Can you come up to here if you're
So
gonna?
the audience can hear you.
I'm fine here.
Actually,
It's just.
do we have a speaker? We have people who are listening to the. And that is like, they can hear your question too.
I think I'm loud enough, but you want me to get louder without going up there, I'll be loud enough. Now, the whole point is, we're here to have a change. not to just take a survey, sir, with all due respect. And am I correct in what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen?
I do what you're saying, but it's a process. This be the first process, and then we'll get to the point where we can talk, and we'll get to that, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but you brought it up, you backed her up, and that's what I'm saying, because you guys brought it up. But a lot of people have very self-interesting in different projects in El Paso. We waste a lot of money, millions of dollars on little projects to better the city, but yet our roads are for the pits, our parks are for the pits, you know, the whole 9 yards.
This is the,
Basic
so this is,
fundamental of any coming to El Paso. If I move to Dallas and buy a house, I have a beautiful house, but the roads going into my area are no good.
you'll notice, sir, that there are questions that address precisely how you feel about your existing facilities, how you feel about your existing road infrastructure, which one you rank higher. And this is exactly why your feedback matters. I know you think these are very general, but this is exactly how we'll be able to prioritize the larger areas of interest and priorities for your community. And so at the very end of the survey, you will have an opportunity to actually put very specific input. If you have an idea for a very specific project, there's an opportunity in the survey for you to put it in. And we are tabulating all this data. But it's important that we go through this entire process so that our city leaders could be better informed about what matters to the community and where these improvements are needed and to what extent. So I ask you all, for your patience, let's get through the survey. And after we go through all the questions, we could go through any individual question that you might have found to be too general, or maybe that you'd like to have a little bit more specifics on, maybe how that general question could be then boiled down into very specific projects. And we could walk you through that process.
Okay, on number 10, it
Yes.
says which facilities are most appropriate. So if you like the small community parks, then in number 11, what are you supposed to answer? A lot of people are responding linear, and I think that's because it's the closest thing. But what should you put if you like the small community parks in 10? What should you put on number 11?
Okay, so the question for everyone's benefit is, if in this question number 10, if what you prioritize or you feel are most appropriate are smaller neighborhood parks and smaller within walking distance of neighborhoods, the question is, how do you follow that up with question 11? Could you go to question 11? Please? And so for this one, it's actually not particularly related.
Okay.
In the sense that maybe you prioritize the smaller facilities closer to your neighborhood. But we also want to know, what are the facilities you use most right now? And maybe you don't use the ones closer to your neighborhood because there are none. But that's valid information for us to have. This is how it ties into knowing what intersection you're closest to, what district you live in, so that we can start identifying these service gaps. And if you all prioritize neighborhoods that are within walking distance of your homes, and we realize there are very few or limited, then we know that we have to put more investment in that priority for your community. This just gives us an idea of what are the kind of city improvements that you already are a fan of? What are the things that you use most in your daily life? So that we don't go choosing projects that people aren't particularly going to use. We want to give you more of what you already like or that you see that we don't have and would like to have.
Question 10 is more, what types of parks do you feel are appropriate? And question 11 is more how you use the parks personally.
Okay. Okay. And where's that photo from on the upper right? Any idea?
The internet.
Okay.
Not in El Paso.
It's not in El Paso.
Yes.
It looks like a pickleball.
It is.
It is like a pickleball.
Yes.
It is a pickleball court.
We're trying to get it here.
We know.
But it's 3.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to shift the focus now from parks to economic development. So how do you feel the city should focus its economic development programs and investments? This is another ranking question. So our choices here are attracting large big name businesses and retailers with high job potential, or selecting supporting small local businesses, meeting local needs and creating fewer jobs individually, but large numbers of jobs collectively. Supporting businesses and industries that align with the goals of our regional partners like UTEP, supporting physical improvements to business districts like streets, sidewalks, and parking, and investments that support creating expanded housing options. We have another visual preference question for economic development. This one, as the city develops economic development programs, what geographic areas do you feel are most important to focus on? Downtown, the district where you live, that picture is a generic picture of an El Paso neighborhood, but that question actually pulls data from the district question that you answered earlier. So if you choose that, it's not because you're choosing the picture, because you're choosing the area where you live. High priority transportation corridors, vacant lots or abandoned existing buildings within existing neighborhoods. And perhaps you feel that the location of those economic development programs doesn't matter. Our next area of interest from the strategic plan is climate change. So what type of investments do you feel are most appropriate for the city in addressing energy and climate change? This one is a ranking question. So again, you can drag and drop, or you can rank them from number 1 through 4. Again, number 1 is what you feel is the most appropriate, number 4 being the least appropriate. And our final subject area is to choose the type of tourism facility that you'd love to see in El Paso that is not currently available. This is another visual preference, so you can choose the 2 which you feel are the most important to you. That's ecotourism that supports campgrounds near the mountains, creating experience destinations. Ecotourism that supports mountain biking events. Ecotourism that celebrates our riverfront and supports local farming business. And finally, heritage tourism that celebrates our history, specifically our downtown core and traditional neighborhoods. And finally, we have an open-ended question for you to let us know if we missed anything. If you feel the survey questions were missing some options that you would have liked to have seen. If you feel the questions were unclear. If you have any specific feedback outside the survey that you want to share with us, this is the question where you.
Okay, so that was the end of the actual survey, right? So now we have about 17 minutes. So we have the room until about 7 o'clock. And so if there's something that you want to discuss, either for this question, which was something that was not covered in the survey, and is specific to future looking projects, right? So not to say that we're, projects in the past weren't done or things like that. If we're here to talk about things that you want to see for the future, this is your opportunity to speak about those things. So if you do have a comment, we do ask that you kind of come near the out, so that way the people online can hear you. And then, we will be able to engage, with you that way. We're going to have a timer running just so everybody knows, that way we can kind of keep track of time. We do ask that you try to be brief to give everybody an opportunity to speak who'd like to speak. For those of you online, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat and then we'll read them out for the record. So yes, ma'am.
I'm Regina Meagle from the Northeast. We have a GT Powers Association. I'm also a member of the Castro Heights Neighborhood Association. I've been working with Mark Weber and now other people, about 20 different realtors. We have an abandoned house on our street. I would love to see that taken care of. Also, I've been calling the stormwater department to get around the ponding area on Stonewall and Rutherford cleaned up. And, this is going on for 9 months. I just called on it again a couple weeks ago. It's pending. That's all I get is it's pending. The city wants us to take care of our property, which my husband and I do. We're constantly getting phone calls if we're interested in selling our property, which we're not at this time. And then, I'm calling 311 and this number and that number to get things fixed. I got in touch with the Attorney General in reference to this abandoned house because it makes all the other houses go down. And we've caught a vagrant in it several years ago, and the woman that owns it does not live in town. Her other house, I heard, got boarded up and fenced in. I really don't want to see that happen in this house. And I have a friend that's chomping at the bit to buy it.
Sure.
So I would like that to be taken care of. And I told the woman, I left her a message. I said, the next thing, if you don't do anything, I'm having the TV station come in, because that seems to help out. But, this has been going on for 7-9 years, and this is ridiculous. We pay our taxes and we pay them on time. And, we're tired of it. All the neighbors are tired of it. And now with the migrants here, that's another problem. They could get into those houses. They don't know how to work things. They don't realize the gas is shut off, the water is shut off. And there's a damper in the fireplace. They could blow up the house, and my house is going to go with it. So I would really like to see that taken care of. Thank you so much.
So in response to the first comment about the vacant building, I would suggest speaking with Stephanie. She is going to be able to work with the city representative to help address that. But thank you for the comments on the flooding. We're noting that. And so we'll be making sure that that's mentioned. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Fisher. I'm president of Pickleball El Paso. Pickleball is a sport that's played with a paddle and a ball that's much lighter than a tennis racket. And the court is smaller, so people experience fewer injuries. A lot of people think it's for retirees, but the problem we have now is the indoor facilities are only available during the week, like 8 to 1. So working people don't have a place to play. The other thing that's different about pickleball is that after 20 minutes, your game is over and you switch courts, you switch partners. You need 8 courts in order to keep doing this switching. Before the pandemic, we held a tournament over at Nolan Richardson, and there were only 3 courts. And all these people came in from Las Cruces, and it took all day. They're sitting around waiting because it's not big enough to hold a tournament. And Ben was buying them pizza, and people were frustrated and tired. They said, we're not coming back. So Las Cruces has a facility now that has 8 dedicated courts, and they dedicated that facility in October. And last week, they just broke ground on their second facility that will have 8 courts. And so we think this would be a great idea. We have a strong community, and in Albuquerque, they're making good money on those out-of-town tournaments. People are coming in from as far away as Oregon and Washington, and they're paying for hotel rooms. They'll get 50 people coming in for a tournament. So it's good for the economy, for the city, and it's good exercise for everybody. And Sandy's going to tell you about the military outreach program that we have.
Okay, we started a program for the military and the veterans, and we have a flyer that the Veterans Administration let us post on their Facebook, and we give lessons to the military for pickleball. So that's why it's so important that we get dedicated pickleball courts. Because this was our first couple that took a lesson, 80 and 82. And so we have a few soldiers that play with us at night because there's nowhere to play at night. We play at the Sunrise Park, which are tennis courts. And if there's tennis players, we can play pickleball. So we really need dedicated pickleball courts. Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Julio. I'm one of the pickleball players. I'm a veteran. He's a veteran. And it's a great thing. Pickleball is a continuous growing sport going on in El Paso. It started with a few people back in the 60s. Now it's all over the nation. They have national championships. They have all kinds of things going on in pickleball. But my emphasis is being a veteran is that pickleball gets you out of the house. If you're depressed and you go and play with these guys, they will help you. Everybody, they're usually professionals. There are all kinds of walks of people come in and play. And we have a really good time because most of the time they miss the ball. We miss the ball. And we don't miss it because it's because we can't see that well, because we can't move that well. So it's a lot of fun. And most of us are older, but we have a new wave of veterans and people from all over doing the same thing. And again, I want to emphasize that depression is a major problem in the whole nation. Young kids are dying at home, doing drugs, doing alcohol. we can pull them out. And it's such a low impact sport that anybody can play. If you can hit the ball against the wall, you can play pickleball. It's that simple. You want to get involved? Talk to Sandy. She's in charge of the area, the Northeast area. What we need, and I'm talking to the city now, is something that we can warm up before we actually play. When we're older, it takes us a long time to get warmed up, to get going. So if you guys could install a cheap wall or wood or cement, or I don't care, wall that we can play against so we can warm up and then go play, it would really help us physically, because then our body's warmed up, and we all know that before we exercise, we have to warm up. Otherwise, we can get hurt our bones, and we're not young anymore. So please help us with that. We need that at every facility, to include the senior citizen facilities, where we go during the day after bingo, we want to play some pickleball. We don't have a partner, but if I'm at home alone and I'm feeling depressed, I know I can go to this wall and play. And I'll feel better because I'm going in next tomorrow when I go play, I'm better than before. Okay, I know, and I'm almost done. And again, pickleball is for all ages. Please join. It's a great sport, and you'll enjoy it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Terry Jettery. I was one of the first ones to play pickleball here in El Paso. We played at the Wellington Senior Center. We set up the net there. We did the amateur from what was it? Duct tape. Leo and I were the first ones. We had a lot of fun, but right now we only have Veterans Park. There's only 2 nets up. It takes a long time for all of us to play. So we have to wait a long time to play again. So I would really like to see it to have more nets, more places to play. And not only on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Everybody from all over the city are coming to Veterans to play on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's not just us. So it would be really nice if we could just set up a place where we have more nets. Thank you.
My name is Julio, and I just want to let you know that anywhere you want to go to your mall or the Canyon or East El Paso, South El Paso, there's potholes all over the place. So I don't know if your car's gonna make it by the time you get to play thicker ball or baseball. Okay, we need improvement on the streets right now, not tomorrow, and not a freeway, and not another extension from the federal government. Next to that, I just want to talk about the budget for Parks and Recreation. It's all about beautifying the park and everything else, and closing down the senior centers, because there's no much money in there for the senior centers at all, or even an honorable mention, and most of you could participate in the senior centers already. Okay, besides, so we need something for the senior centers immediately. Okay, before the cars break down on the potholes. Okay, our site. And the next thing is our mountains, our area, special areas are not for camping. Shouldn't be for camping. They should be for hiking and enjoying the day out. The more you make it like the national parks, the more people are going to destroy and ruin our mountains and our deers and our flowers and everything else. Okay, and that's it. I just wanted to let you know. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Fernando Casas. Just want to suggest or recommend All Abilities Park for a younger generation. I know we're talking about the older generation, talking about like maybe the younger generation this time. And it's I feel I was in one in Austin, and I think it was amazing. They have a lot of buildings that are also educational for the kids. We can get the business community to help us out by sponsoring their building, McDonald's, Albertsons, Walmart, whoever. It's I think something very instructional for our kids. At the same time, different abilities. They have track, they have biking, they have hiking, everything together in a little park. So I think that's something that we need, something that feel something we need here for our kids. That's all, pretty much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'd also like to put in a word for pickleball. I think it's a great sport. It's fun, and most importantly, it's for all ages. And here in El Paso, we have a large community of seniors. It's perfect for seniors. And I think if we promote pickleball for El Paso, it'll do the entire city a lot of good.
My name is Ruben Peña, and I'm also a pickleball player. And I just wanted to make sure that my voice was heard as well. And I'm also a veteran and senior citizen. And pickleball, once it was introduced to me, has been a great salvation to my life. To meet with great people, whether they be young. I have my great grandkids playing it already. And I've friends that are younger than me and older than me, and we all have a great time. So if you all have a chance, come out and play with us.
I'm Terry Rodella, and I born and raised here in El Paso in Northeast. I moved back to care for my 89-year-old mother and still lives in the same house that we were born and raised in. So, and we've kept it updated and painted and try to maintain the building and lawn and everything to make it, there's pride in it. So, you know, that woman spoke about housing. There's a lot of housing being downgraded, boarded, or slum landlords. And I'm wondering if the city can do some incentive for those who do maintain their housing. Some incentive instead of slapping a higher tax. My mother, I can't believe the taxes she pays at 89, and the house is as old as I am. We moved in when I was a baby, so I'm 64. So the house is still standing and looks great. But it's like we keep punishing those who try to improve their homes instead of giving them some incentive. And then that other neighbors in the neighborhood could also then improve, and that would increase increase the value of the neighborhood, and people would like to move into these neighborhoods. Right now, I feel the Northeast has been excluded. We've been building in the east and the west and downtown area, which is great. But these neighborhoods were having violence. I used to walk as a kid out night, no problem. We play outside at night. You're afraid to go out at night because you might get shot, a knife, and there's so much violence here that's happening. And we need better lighting or better something. But the kids, the youth need something to do too, to keep them busy and out of those.
Pickleball.
Well, the youth probably want to play other things. I'll play pickleball, but the youth need to use their energies. Something to keep their minds active too, and us as elderly keeping our minds active too. Mental health, pickleball is. But I just think the city needs to look at how do we build the quality of life everywhere in El Paso, not just certain areas, and to build like an arena. Yeah. I'm not for that because it's like, again, where all the monies is going there and people do pay taxes here, and we want a good quality of life in our neighborhoods built up. So that's my concern, is how do we do that equity everywhere, that everybody, the quality of life improves everywhere, no matter where we live. Central too, I lived there for a bit before I moved in with my mother, but anyway, that's what I'm saying.
You know what, another thing too, it seems like Northeast, this area right here is at the bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
It gets the least of
is.
everything. It's not fair. We go to the other places, they have beautiful parks, they have big facilities. Here, what do we have? Nothing.
And the thing is, we get satisfied with so little. We made the water park, we made a water park.
It's not that big, it's tiny.
That's the best thing we have for a while. And we've been abandoned.
We have all that land at home, and the stadium being built downtown to knock down. I saw all this happening. It's like, what? What are they thinking? Anyway, but Yeah, we have that land at Cohen's. You know,
Oh, you're going
it's
to get
really
the
big
police
for water park.
headquarters. You're going to get the police headquarters.
But, yeah,
Okay.
I agree with that.
What are they gonna do with that land at Cohen Stadium? It's just sitting there in this country trailer.
Yeah, so the question is about, what's happening at Cohen. And so I'm sure that you were aware, maybe participated in, that there was a master planning process that took place there. And so the city has been working to get a developer interested in that site. They've been trying to market it, and to this point, there hasn't been someone who's taken that project on. But I do know that that is something that's really important to the representative, and that I know that he brings up quite a bit at council with the city manager, and it's one of his top priorities. And I don't want to speak for him, but
What is the project?
Yeah, that is the question. I mean, your answer is.
Wait, what is the project?
so, I mean, the question, just for people online, was what is the project? And so there was a lot of different components to it. One of
Find it.
Do we own the land there? Do we- does the city own the
the
land?
city does own the land, yes, sir.
And the ability part would be fantastic. You can get businesses to there. You know what I'm saying? They can create the park themselves. Like I said, if you see the buildings they have, the McDonald's can pitch in by putting the building there. Pitch on the extra to help with other parts and so on. Other businesses, I think, can get involved with it like that. And everybody want, it's not advertising, it's not advertising wise. I think they love that, something that they will be, you know what I'm saying?
What about an aquatic park? I mean, my niece is a swimmer and they practice in the small little YMCA up here by the library on, anyway, it's a small pool, they go and practice. But all the tournaments are out on the west side in that big aquatic, but they practice in the small little pool. Each town needs those, is for the swimmers, those who are competing.
Yep, and so, the feedback that we're hearing, just want to repeat it so that way we can get it into the record, right? So you had said about economic investment at the Cohen site, you were talking about the aquatics facility. So these are the types of things that, again, that the District 4 representative can prioritize for his district, and those are the types of things that can be built. And that's where, again, it's really important that we capture that feedback, so that way he knows that this is the priority for the district. Again, that's the process that we're trying to set up, is to get those different data points for him, so that way he can make an informed decision for his district. That's one of the priorities for us too. We really want to see Cohen be developed. It's a matter of funding. And again, I'm not the decision maker in that perspective, but we're really looking to capture that feedback, so that way we can tell people that that's the priority. So, economic investment for Cohen, aquatics facility, I think that's all possible. That was definitely contemplated as part of that master plan. We did want to see recreational facilities there. We did want to see retail development. And so I think, that's where we're looking to make sure that we channel the funding to the right types of programming that people want to see.
I just say one more thing before the time's up. Ultimately, for all of El Paso, just try pickleball once. Just try it once, right? Because it's a funny name, pickleball, but you really have to try it once to really understand what it's about. I tried it once and I just fell in love with it. So especially for seniors, just try it once. Just try pickleball one time. You'll see.
My main concern is my streets. That whole, the North Valley and the northeast area. And pickleball and football and everybody thinks it's nice, but what about the streets?
So again, the comment here was about streets. Streets is a really big priority. The city's looking for different ways to fund streets. If you look actually at the live results that we have on the website, streets are the top priority. So we're hearing that loud and clear, and we're looking for ways to pay for that funding. Yes, sir.
That's been said for years. Okay.
Yep.
Well, it's a
And
chronic
we're not talking about
Chronic problem.
1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
Yep.
Well, we're talking about 5, 10, 20 years.
Yep.
In fact, I can go back 40 years, okay? And nothing has been done really in comparison to the money that's been put some other places.
Yeah.
That's
Just
what-
patch,
that's-
patch,
that's-
patch.
Taking money from one tribe, put it over here to cover some self-interest group or whatever, needs to stop, period. You need to get that money funded to the streets that was supposed to be done, we were supposed to have done a long time ago. And again, I said 40 years back. Okay. And now we got a high percentage of people on the one for streets. Well, this is gonna get done. The money's there. And now the government's giving some extra money to facilitate this stuff. So now there should be no excuse. Depending which representative you talk to get this done. Okay, and I'm not talking to go in and fix their street in particular, because that's happened too. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
We don't want that. We want it different areas. It's not hard to go and see our streets, how they are. Anybody can drive down and get a flag or bust up their car going through the streets. That's what it is. Now, as for the elderly, referring to this, what is it, that little putt-putt game or whatever? Pickleball, whatever. Yeah, it's fun, whatever, but like, people will say, you're gonna miss a part of play that game. I don't think so. Now, the other thing is, I'm not against what you're saying, sir. I'm saying the streets and how to get to the places. The other thing, our elderly places are very bad. Very bad. And the reason I'm saying is because obviously, the elderly place that I go to, we've had our cars vandalized, stolen, okay, scratched, okay? And I've been trying to get them to put cameras and bring up the facility. Okay?
So really quick,
Okay.
so really quick, I'm just gonna wrap up for people online really quick. So thank you, everybody, for joining us online. Really quick, this is where you can see the live results. Again, this number is getting updated every 5 minutes. So the feedback that you give us will be reflected here. You should be able to see your responses here. Again, that's why we're encouraging everybody to do it. This is going to be a transparent process. We want you to be able to see what the results are. Stephanie, you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, the people that join us online, and for all you for taking the time to be here. We really needed your feedback. Thank you for providing it. The result, it's about 14%, I believe. So if you could please tell people from District 4 to put in what they want in order for us to have all those needs. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it.